31 days, 31 seeds, encouraging lives by sowing seeds of hope and determination. For day 16, something interesting happened to me. There was a post on Facebook. It was an article expressing how two elderly women had been attacked. I believe they were Filipino women. It stated that one's name and that she was 50, and another one's name and that she was 60 years of age. My friend was saying on the post is, wow, I didn't know we at around 50 were considered elderly. That's shocking to me. A few of us are on making a comment about it, and I was as well. Then another comment came up that said they were shocked that everyone was laughing and discussing how that age was considered elderly, but no one was discussing the fact that two women had been attacked. And it just stopped me in my tracks, because I was one of the ones putting a comment up. Someone else says this, like, does anyone here notice that two women were attacked? Hello, let's forget about your age and let's say, are these ladies okay? Two ladies were attacked. And it caught me in my track. And I commented back, wow, you're absolutely correct. I'm feeling convicted now. And thank you for pointing that out to me. And I truly meant that. There was no sarcasm involved in my comment back to them. I truly believe that if you can't accept any kind of, well, maybe people call it criticism, correction. You know, if you're wrong, you're wrong. That's all there is to it, no matter how you feel about it. I admire when someone will speak out in a loving way and say, hey, didn't anybody notice two women were attacked? And me being one of the guilty ones can say, oh, wow, yes, that's more important to me. Thank you for pointing it out. And not being upset that they pointed out that my thought process wasn't where it should have been at the moment. And it wasn't. And it's a beautiful thing. On the week of forgiveness, which we're on here right now, we are learning or taking seeds that help us learn how to forgive ourselves. Another instance I can tell you of this, I was with a women's group and we were out somewhere having lunch together, and I was having a chat with one of the girls at the table, and in an instant she turned her head to me and just didn't speak to me anymore. I'm just, how would you feel? You know, I'm like, feeling like, what did I do? I'm feeling embarrassed. I'm feeling shunned. I'm feeling a little angry. I was curious. How were we talking fine one minute, and the next minute she just turns her back to me and completely ignores me for the rest of the meal. After the meal was finished, I caught up with her when she was leaving. I was in pure curiosity, and I asked her very nicely, would you please explain to me what I may have done or what I may have said that caused you to react to me that way? And I'm not mad at you for it, but I would like to understand it so maybe I can see this and change how I behave in the future. Maybe it's something I want to change that I don't know I'm doing. What is it? Please tell me. She was gracious enough to say, hey, let's have a conversation. Well, it ended up that if any of you know my brother-in-law, he has a knack of trouble finding him. And I'm not saying that he gets into trouble. What happens is he's out and about and bad people try to do things to him. But this man is so outrageous, he ends up he should have a movie about himself. I was telling these stories, but for the place that she was in life, it was too daytime drama. She couldn't take it. So she had just had to turn and shut herself off from me. She said to me, Michelle, I don't know if you hear some of the stories that you tell, but some people just may not be in an emotional position to be able to handle that. So maybe that's something you could, not talk about all the time. I understood that. And I realized, yeah, I'm just kind of telling stories. But not every story needs to be told at every moment. There is a time and a place for things. And I do understand what she had gone through. And I do understand that those were kind of crazy, like us, stress you out stories that at that moment she could not deal with. The whole point of that is that instead of becoming angry about how she had treated me, I became curious of why. And I asked. Now, if she had decided not to tell me, that would have changed this entire story. But me being curious and asking her in a loving way, and then her being the loving person that she is, responding to me in a loving way. We both had these aha moments about each other. I wanted to respect people and where they are emotionally. And then I had a million other things to talk about. And we became the best of friends. A situation that could have turned really bad, and we could have really ended up not liking each other and having harsh feelings towards each other, but because we decided to sit and discuss it in a loving manner, we were able to strike up a wonderful friendship. And I love her dearly to this day. A lot of times in forgiveness, we have a hard time forgiving ourselves, but I know we also have a hard time forgiving other people. And even though the last few days we've been talking about forgiving ourselves, the whole purpose of that is to bring us to a point where we can begin to understand why we need to be able to forgive other people. The reason I started planting the seeds with responsibility is I really truly believe first we have to understand whose responsibility it is for certain things, so we have that clear. Then we need to understand, we had a week of feelings, what all feelings are involved, and we need to understand that we can stop the moment of silence, think about those feelings, think about responsibility, and think about how we're going to react in a loving way that is loving towards ourselves and others. A lot of people have a wall up against forgiving certain things, certain people, certain situations, and I can get that. I have been there multiple times where I have just held on to it, and when someone would come to me talking about forgiveness, it honestly pissed me off. And no way, I'm not giving them the green light. But at the end of the day, you can only hold on to so many emotional things. So it's like, how big are your hands? When you go to sleep at night, you're carrying that with you. It's sitting on you. And when you wake up in the morning, if you haven't forgiven, it's one of the first things that you pick up. Now think about how many things you may be holding on to. How full are your arms? How heavy is that load? Does your back hurt? And think about, okay, you're angry. How long are you going to carry that? That anger was a gift they gave you. Whatever day they did, whatever they did to you, they gave you the gift of anger. And when somebody gives you a gift, you can decide what to do with that gift. And most people will decide to re-gift it. That's the most famous thing to do with anger. When someone gives you that, is I'm going to give this back away because, whoo, and I'm going to add to it. Kind of like that Amish bread that goes around. Really. So think about it. If your arms are full of all of that, then what are you doing? And now you're letting them take that time from you, as I've said before. In a way, you are still allowing that experience to happen for you. And I know it's hard, and that's why we need to learn the responsibility. We need to understand feelings, and we need to be able to forgive ourselves first before we can even begin to have an inkling of forgiving anyone else. Then it becomes a scary thing because you feel like, well, if you do forgive them, has that given them a green light? If you do forgive them, what does that mean for you? If you do forgive them, does that mean you were wrong? If you do forgive them, does that mean you were weak? What does it mean for you? Why is it if you're so resistant against forgiving a situation? Think about it. Why? Ask yourself that. Why? Really? And I think you would already know the answer. Is that worth holding on to? Let's ask yourself that. Is it? And what are you missing out on because you're holding on to it? And it could be a very scary thing. But I have found that the most famous things that happen to you in life are really scary things. There is a book out. Oh, what is the name of it? Zigging While Everyone Else is Zagging? Why Being Called Crazy is a Compliment? I think it's by Linda Rothenberg, if I am correct. And in that book she says there's a lot of risks in life. But the biggest risk you take is not taking one at all. Because then you never know what could have been. And let me tell you a secret. I was scared to death to do public speaking. About 12 years ago, I started my first public speaking, and it was doing seminars. And okay, there'd be 5 or 10 people in the room. Scared me to death to get up there and speak. And to do it for 45 minutes, and then tell me I need to do it for an hour. And then I got more speaking engagements that I had to go 2 hours. And now the room has 100 people in it and 200 people in it. I'm petrified. Every time I would go out to speak, I'm petrified. But I did it anyhow, and what a fabulous experience. I love interacting with people, and I love hearing people's stories because we're all so unique and different, and I bet every single one of you have just heartbreaking stories and funny stories and heartwarming stories happening in your life. Point being, today being midweek in forgiveness, yeah, I wanted to soften you a bit with kind of planting some seeds to forgive yourself, which is true. Today, it's a little bit of both. Today, I want you to forgive you, just as I forgave me for joining in with the comment and forgiving myself for not understanding what was going on in that situation, for not being angry at my now friend for the comment that she had said to me. For day 16, seed 16, plant it if you want to. You don't have to. You can hang on to it for a while, but seeds are a cool thing. You can plant them when you want to. What I want you to do is forgive yourself. Realize why you're not forgiving someone else, and ask yourself if it's a possibility that you could just open up your hand and let it go. And one thing I will leave you with is, have you heard parents whose children have been brutally murdered by someone? And they will be speaking publicly in an interview, and these parents will say, I forgive the person who murdered my child. Do you ever wonder, how can a parent forgive someone who murdered their child? How could a parent stand there and tell the world that they forgive a person who brutally murdered their child? It's because they love their child so much that even though their heart is broken for the rest of their life until they take their last breath, they want to be able to remember the good things about their baby. They don't want to get stuck in the moment where that person did what they did, because their child lived a glorious, beautiful, loving life before that happened. But I think we all have a tendency to stop in that moment and like time stands still. And we just stay there. They forgive so they can move on. And not that they're leaving their child behind, but they want to move on with their child with them, with love. And they want their child's life to mean something and not be a tragedy. Think about that. And think about any reason that you're holding a grudge or so mad at someone, why you can't forgive them. It doesn't mean you have to speak with them anymore. It doesn't mean you have to be friends with them. It doesn't mean you have to speak well of them. Just don't say anything about them. But you yourself can open your arms and set that down. So now you have room for who knows what. As Stuart Little said, life is a grand adventure. Day 16, seed 16. Forgive yourself. Let go of some anger. Forgive someone else. See you tomorrow for seed 17.